I'm Tristan Morrison with Morrison & Hughes. I'm here with Kate Hayden, who's our guru on all things criminal defense. One thing that the entire internet wants to know, which is, what happens if I get pulled over for a DUI? What are my rights? What do I do?
So what you do when you get pulled over for a DUI, the number one most important thing is you do not answer any questions. You are required to identify yourself to the police officer. You're required to produce your license and proof of registration and insurance. If the officer asks you to get out of the car, you are required to comply with that. But beyond that, any questions they ask, your answer is, I'm sorry, I won't answer any questions.
Okay, so I can't pretend to be a sovereign citizen, but...
No, don't do that. But you don't have to answer any questions beyond those what I just listed, and you shouldn't.
Okay, so I've got to give him my name. I've got to give him my insurance. And what's the other one?
Your ID.
My ID. I've got to show him my ID.
And
okay,
registration.
Great. All right. What if the police officer tells me that I have to get out of the car? Do I have to do it?
Yes, you do. You do have to comply with the request to get out of the car. If you do that, or if they request that you do that, you should do it, and make sure you close that door behind you so the officer can't see anything in your vehicle and it does not appear that they might have access to anything in your vehicle.
Oh, okay. So closing the door prevents them from just kind of taking a little peek inside to find out what might be in there without actually having a warrant or without having the drug dog.
That's right.
We didn't talk about this ahead of time, but what if they do have a drug dog? What does a drug dog do?
So a drug dog is a trained dog to identify certain odors, typically drugs. They are allowed to have those on scene and to do what's called a free air sniff around the vehicle. And if that dog alerts that that dog smells something in the vehicle, that would then give the police probable cause to search your vehicle. The problem that we commonly see in these situations is if that drug dog is not on scene, they cannot just hold you there to wait for that dog's arrival. They still have to be actively investigating something. If they have finished everything they need to do, they cannot require that you just sit there to wait on that drug dog to arrive.
Ooh, that's a good question. How long do they get to wait? Is it like a reasonable amount of time, or is there a specific amount of time under the law?
There's not a specific amount of time. It is a reasonableness thing, and that all comes down to what they initially stopped you for and what they are actually investigating. If they are still reasonably actively conducting their traffic stop, then you would have to wait however long it takes them to finish that. But this is also why it's important when you're talking to a police officer to tell them, let me know when I'm free to leave.
Ooh, oh, good one, yeah. So that's why when you see all those videos on YouTube, it's, am I free to leave? Am I free to leave? Am I free to leave?
That's right.
Okay.
Because if they tell you are not free to leave, you are still considered detained.
Okay. Now, of course, they're going to want to take a blood test or a breathalyzer. Let's talk about breathalyzer first. Okay.
Sure.
Do I have to blow?
You do not have to blow, nor should you.
Okay, but isn't there a consequence if I don't blow?
Yes, that would be an administrative license suspension, which is something that you can have a hearing about, and that is a heck of a lot easier to deal with from a legal defense perspective than a DUI.
So an administrative suspension, what does that mean?
Basically, it's the Department of Driver Services would have a hearing about suspending your license for your refusal to do the breathalyzer testing.
Okay, so they could suspend your license potentially, depending upon how good your lawyer is.
Exactly.
But also, it's a lot better than being thrown in jail for a DUI, which they confirm once they get you to blow.
Absolutely. So if you blow and you blow above the legal limit, that is now what we call a DUI per se, which means that's all they have to prove, that you were driving and that your blood alcohol level was above the legal limit. And so that makes their case against you a lot easier and a lot stronger. So refusing to blow does have some collateral consequences, but those collateral consequences are much lower and much easier to deal with than a DUI.
Okay. And is that .08? Is that what's considered a DUI per se?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what we all think of when we think about the .08, blowing a .08.
Precisely.
Can they make you blow?
No, they cannot make you blow. They might try to make you think that they can make you blow, but you can refuse. And if you do refuse, if they are belligerent and pushy about it, that can create some issues that you're going to need an experienced attorney to step in and litigate after the fact.
Okay, what about a blood test? Can they make you take a blood test?
They can ask you to consent to a blood test. The only way that they can make you take a blood test or any test of any bodily substance is with a warrant.